From the beginning of time, we humans haven't really had the time. The time to appreciate life, the time to appreciate nature, the time to appreciate our existence. Well, now is the time. Time to be with loved ones. Time to form new bonds. Time to nurture relationships. Colors will come back. Happiness will come back. Don't stop hoping. Don't stop dreaming. Don't stop planning. Talk to us. We are here to hear you. Vivaah Weddings, your bespoke planning and management company.
Hello everyone from Vivaah Weddings. Thank you very much for joining in. We're at this time waiting for participants to join. We see the numbers going up. We want to thank everybody for taking this time out during their busy day to talk to us and hear us out on our Zoom session. You may be tuning in from different parts of the world, and we really appreciate that. To begin with, we want to wish you and your loved ones health and safety in these times. I know these times are unprecedented for all of us, and no one saw this coming. But as we've been speaking over the last few weeks, we're trying to take a very positive stance to this. And that's exactly why we've come up with this Vivaah Live session, wherein we talk to different stakeholders over the last few weeks to discuss the positive impact that we've been having post this global crisis, because of which this is the situation. You know, as the saying goes, one world, one community. This stands true now more than ever, and certainly so for the travel and the wedding fraternity, because our job primarily entails gatherings and traveling, because of which these sessions are extremely important. Without wasting any more time, I'm going to start with the official introductions. We have the tourism board panel today, and we're discussing the life post the global health crisis. I'm going to start with Beverly Yong from the Tourism Board of Singapore. Thank you very much. Welcome, Beverly. We have Christophe Berger from the Malta Tourism Authority. Welcome, Christophe. Christophe, while we're here, maybe we can play a video of the Maltese Tourism Board that you sent across to us.
Very much. Yeah, it's Dream Malta and See You Later. So
absolutely,
the latest campaign.
Please have the video for the Malta tourism, please. I want to move on to introducing our next panelist. We have Dr. Ali Hassan Follad from the Bahrain Tourism Authority. And we have Karishma Hundalani, who's our moderator for the evening. And she's from EVENTFAQS, which is a digital platforms for events and weddings and tourism and everything else related to hospitality. Moving on, I'd like to welcome all of you. Thank you so much for being a part of this session. The idea is to spread positivity and to spread a positive attitude in nature and tell everybody what the situation is with our own countries. I think I'm going to hand over to Karishma to take over now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Arun. And I'd like to start at the outset to thank Vivaah for bringing us all together. Arun, Rahul, you guys have always and continue to do an enormously great job in providing platforms, which I think in a time like this is so imperative. Discussions like these have allowed us to really learn from one another and lean in each other's strengths. So thank you very much. I won't take too much time. Arun has already introduced me. To set context, we also join hands with companies like Vivaah to essentially provide media information and news in the events and the wedding industry for India and the Middle East. I'll start with my first topic, which since in the context of positivity, some amount of revival, talking about a post-pandemic situation, I want to address the first topic to be each of my panelists' destinations' strengths, to really see what we can really rely on within our destinations that's going to help us or give us an impetus when we come back into the realm of tourism, so to say. Christophe, I'm going to start with you because your video gave us a hint of what you all are planning, unfortunately, but we'll see it later. But Malta, I know, has these great advantages of being an island that's remote and quite isolated. And how are you going to use that and other features to really bring back the message of safety? Because I think that's what's going to be important going down the road from now.
So yes, thank you very much for that. The big advantage of the Maltese Islands is definitely the fact that they are islands, so everything is more content and more compact. And we didn't have, we have a very, very good health crisis organization overall. Just to remind you on COVID-19, we had 490 registered cases. We've tested over 10% of the population, and as a destination, we had only 5 people who passed away, unfortunately. So as a virus, the situation has been contained. The next step forward is for us communicate how safe it is to come to Malta. As such, we haven't had any final decision on the strategy forward to reopen the destination because we're waiting for WHO and for the European Union to tell us exactly how we're going to operate. The indications are likely to be that the local will be our tourist for the next 2 months, and then we will gradually reopen the country with the airport probably around July and August. But that is still not known, so we have to wait and see. The safety of Malta is always been, as I said, they are islands, and even from a geopolitical aspect, we're very, 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 very safe. The island benefits from great weather. Obviously, we have many advantages of coming here, and the ease of language, being English languages, and a massive amount of possibility for wedding planners with outdoor venues, which are tremendously nice. We are right in the Mediterranean Sea, so we have a lot of advantages. So we're going to use these advantages in our communications in the next week or so. So rest assured, we will be there.
Yeah, that's encouraging. Beverly, Singapore has been at the helm of a lot of progress when it comes to dealing with the pandemic, and how, I mean, if you can relate this back to how the tourism board is working with the government, and perhaps where you see the first signs of revival coming from.
I think for us, the government has actually set aside more than $60 billion just to help the people and the businesses and the locals here. With that, STV as a board, we also complement our various measures to help the businesses. And with that, even we've actually also set up the Tourism Recovery Action Task Force. This one will actually help. It's comprised of government agencies, industry associations, tourism business owners. We all come together, and basically it's a very action-oriented kind of task force where we encourage a lot of industry stakeholders to work together as partners more than just competitors. And with that, we encourage leveraging on each other's strengths and resources, because we are a very small country, right? So, but that said, what we have is really our people, and with that, we're trying to just coordinate the effort just to have a greater impact. So this is something that we're doing on various fronts, actually, to help everyone.
Yeah, that's a great message. Actually, collaboration and partnerships seem to be the ideas to go forward with, because I mean, we need to lean on each other for that support. Dr. Follad, I know that you have been a big propagator and proponent for partnerships, collaborations. You work so closely with planners themselves to really win important business for Bahrain. Is that a strategy going forward? What else is going to be your, you know, your message, and what strengths would you rely on now to revive some amount of the business?
Yes, of course, this is the first what we are aiming to do. But if we take it from the general policy from the Kingdom of Bahrain as a government policy since this pandemic started, Bahrain is an island. It's the first country in the GCC. GCC means the Gulf Council, the GCC, the Gulf Council Cooperation, which combined the 6 countries in the Gulf. Bahrain did the first initiative to, as far as the safety and everything. So that's why we haven't have any curfew or anything so far as of today. And like the UNWTO, United Nations World Tourism Organization, there was a letter or from the General Secretary to all tourism ministers in the world. That the letter was on 31st of March for the government to support tourism industry. Bahrain government did that on 17th of March, so 2 weeks earlier, by initiating the financial package, which is $11.4 billion to support the whole sector, the economy, and one of them is the tourism. Yes. 3 months support the salaries, the either individual, the corporate, the support, the levy tourism, for instance, the electricity, everything has been waived just to support the sectors. And everybody knows that the COVID-19, the first sector which has really been affected, which is tourism. So the government did superb or awesome job for to support the Bahraini tourism industry, the companies. When it comes to our subject, definitely the wedding planners, the hotels, the restaurants, and so on. And beside that, even during this, with our strength, our project is continuing. Like, for instance, we are working on the bigger, or like say the biggest convention and exhibition center in the region. We are working with our beaches. We are working on so all the projects and everything's never been stopped. It's going on.
Yeah, that's nice. Actually, it's encouraging to see the government and the tourism board being able to work so closely, because I do feel that's one of the important solutions going forward as well. Rahul, if I could ask you to just give us a perspective now a little bit about, since I know that you all as Vivaah are still in touch with your clients, you are still planning some events in the near future. I don't want to say far future anymore, because it is actually coming up. So if you can give us a little sound of where your clients are coming from, what are their concerns, and then we can see how the tourism boards are going to react to such potential concerns or requirements now from clients and clients of weddings.
Yeah, Karishma, well, our clients are scattered all over the globe. So we do destination weddings, but our source markets are in different countries. So we have families from India, families from Africa, families from UK, US, who look at signing up weddings with us, and then we take them to different destinations. So we do inbound to the Middle East region, and then we do outbound as well to several other different countries of the world. So what we've been hearing from our clients is that in terms of weddings, the brides or the families, the couples have not stopped planning, they've not stopped dreaming. They're still hopeful of having their celebrations post-October. yes, the weddings that were slated for the next few months are the ones that have been postponed, or some of them are being redirected to more favorable destinations. Because at this point in time, the scenario is not actually constant and similar across different geographical regions. As Dr. Ali Follad clearly mentioned here, we see that Bahrain at this point in time is so very well positioned in comparison to many other cities or countries that we've heard of. And so goes the fact across the globe as well. So our clients at that point in time are looking at redirecting their weddings. So they're not canceling celebrations. They're still going ahead. They're still talking positive. They're still looking for celebrations post October, but are now scouting and looking for more favorable destinations. And the factors that they're considering is, of course, hygiene, cleanliness, looking at what government regulations has been put in place, the healthcare system that there is, the hospitality that there is. So all of these factors put together are the parameters on the basis of which the clients are now looking at taking their weddings to certain parts of the world vis-a-vis other parts where they're completely steering out of. So we know that there are certain parts of the globe where weddings may not see a bounce back till even 12 months from now. But there are certain parts of the world, many of which are mentioned, which are present on this session with us, also are places that have taken stringent measures. They've been proactive than reactive. There have been a lot of checks in place. And these are the kind of destinations that will benefit from seeing an early revival of wedding tourism coming into those countries versus the others that may take a little longer. Clients have not stopped planning. They're still going full ahead.
Yeah, I think that's an important requirement, of course, is to really put out the message of safety, hygiene, even practices and a code of conduct. Beverly, I'll take it back to you just so that you can give us a little insight onto if Singapore Tourism Board is really putting these messages together. That's one part of my question. The second part would be how important or where do you see the wedding tourism in sector in the order of priority when it comes to revival for tourism for Singapore?
I think this outbreak has really brought an unprecedented amount of uncertainty to the world right now. And this is actually the biggest challenge that Singapore tourism has faced in our 56 years history. It's not going to be easy to navigate, but whilst we help the tourism industry take time to resume, factors like safety, proximity, air connectivity, all these would drive the destination choices, and we're well aware of that. We are also confident that the fundamentals of our Singapore tourism industry remain strong, and that together we are working with the industry people to come up with new wedding trends, possibly, that would emerge out of this thing. One of which may be the preference for more intimate, smaller scale wedding celebrations. So these are various aspects that we're working at, just not only from the board, but actually throughout several of the government agencies, as well as our industry players. With that, right now we've already rolled out the Singapore Clean campaign. This one is actually to reassure public that our businesses maintain high standards of cleanliness. So this is actually, to date, we have about 9,000 premises that has already been certified by us. And we aim to cover more than 32,000 premises by next year. So this is just part of the, confidence building in that sense for a destination. In terms of the other support that we have, we continue to give it to all the other businesses, just to help encourage events to be hosted in Singapore. So these are various things that we're doing.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for that. Christophe, is it similar in terms of, is that going to be the strategy for messaging for the Malta Tourism Board, or are you looking at other opportunities? The second part of my question as well, as to where you see weddings, destination weddings being a contributor to the revival of tourism. Do you see that as a unique opportunity, something you want to really rely on perhaps, since you have potential ambassadors in companies like Vivaah and other wedding planners who might want to kind of work together with you to bring their clients to Malta, given its safety?
Definitely, as the tourism industry, the government is looking at 4 different pillars in order to regain the trust for people to travel here. We're looking at the airports and the ports. For an island, this is crucial. How you arrive at the airport and all the measures that you have on social distancing. That's the most important thing that you have as soon as you arrive on an island. The hygiene, obviously, and sanitizations of all the public areas and all the private, the private sectors of being hotels, venues, caterers. We're going to have to reinvent the way we deliver events in such that we're going to have to resize everything. Probably the catering and the venue and the hospitality will have to work hand in hand in order to come up with new guidelines. That's the most important thing. And I think we have an opportunity here to resize our business model in order to go for less volume, but better quality, and better quality in every step of the industry, being destination weddings, but also being for weekend break. Probably we're gonna have weekend break as the first people moving to traveling to Malta, and relatives or families coming to see people here. So I think as a business, we're going to have to see step by step which are the segments which are going to travel back. But I have a feeling that the locals will be the first to be to implement the new strategy, and then we will go gradually with other segments.
Yes. Dr. Follad, is that the case also in Bahrain? How fast or how soon do you see maybe a smaller, more intimate event, but how soon do you see revival in that aspect? And would you have an estimation to see when perhaps a wedding could take place in Bahrain, either from within the GCC or any international destination?
Well, we've been receiving many requests from India, from neighboring countries, and most of them are talking about fourth quarter of this year. Okay, of course, nobody assure you now when will be open, to the world, any country, any place. I believe the domestic tourism, I think that will be revived. As far as Bahrain is concerned, the regional, maybe tourism, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, definitely that will be the first. When it comes to the wedding, I think especially we have a good market with, for instance, with India. I think the wedding, the corporate events, that will be definitely on. The big advantage for Bahrain, which is, as I mentioned earlier, the local support of the government for the tourism industry in Bahrain, i.e. the hotels, the wedding planners, and so on. That helps a lot for these companies or bodies to at least to survive for the 3-4 coming months. But in general, I think the health and safety of tourists and visitors will always be at the forefront of our decisions. That's very, very, very important. I remember I was attending one of the virtual seminars. I don't want to mention which organization, but it is an international organization. And the speakers been talking about so many things about tourists, but they forgot something which is very, very important, which has been highlighted by one of the listeners, and he said, as you mentioned, Karishma, which is the safety, that's the everything. And I believe now the clients, especially when it comes to the weddings, the families, they will keep the track of any country, A or B, the safety standard is very important. And I think the Middle East will be very attractive for especially in the GCC, Bahrain, UAE, I think those will be very attractive for the families to come and help their I don't think Europe, I don't think States, I don't think the Far East. I think this area will be really will be a big demand on this kind of business.
Yeah, where safety can actually start to become an opportunity for a destination that can really make it shine in competition. I can see that as an important strategy for any tourism board. You rightly said that is actually the #1 priority now, because that's the first criteria, and then you look at the second of what the destination has to offer, etc. We have a question which is related to the topic, so I'm going to take it up as we go along. But essentially, I know a lot of hoteliers, a lot of stakeholders from within the industry, beyond the tourism board themselves, attend these sessions. And they're also very curious to know how governments are working together with these stakeholder networks. Are you really taking feedback from them to really see how you will implement these messages? Because it's one thing for the government to say, okay, these are our set code of conduct, but how do you ensure that it goes through every level? What is the plan to work with these stakeholders to come up as a very united and strong front? Christophe, if you can take it to start with, because I know Beverly has already spoken about it a little bit, but we'll take it up again then as well.
At the government level, what is sure is that we're waiting from the European Union and the WHO to give us the general guidelines, which I think they're all available, and they some of it is already in place. But from the private stakeholders, they also have their own guidelines from hotel groups, and they are working on that. So I think it's going to come together as we have more knowledge as well from the Asia part. So I think it will come together, and I don't see any difficulty to especially if the numbers are going to be more contained, so that the industry is not going to be starting from the beginning with high numbers. So I think by its own sort of level of business, it will open very slowly, and then gradually will definitely increase on the volume of business. But yeah, I think I'm confident of the Maltese government being able to communicate sets of measures and guidance for the private stakeholder to be ready for when we open the tourism industry.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, where actually the amount of business will actually trickle in, so you have that amount of time to really equip yourself. Arun, if I could request a little input here from you in the context of what in your opinion for a wedding planner will be required now going forward as the most important message, information, relations, collaborations to really, there's an amount of translation of what the tourism boards, the governments are trying to do to reach the end consumer as well. I mean, an advertising campaign can only say so much. It can give you a sense of feeling safe, but the actual parameters. So just, I mean, as a sounding board to our panelists here, what in your opinion is what you need to be equipped with going forward?
Thank you, Karishma. Just backtracking a little bit, I also wanted to talk about the tourism boards and how Dubai Tourism, for instance, has played a role when it comes to speaking to the stakeholders. Obviously, we work with multiple tourism boards, but as our own home city, Dubai, our tourism board got in touch with us in the first week to tell us exactly what the situation was, and they asked us what are the measures they can take and what is our opinion as wedding planners and how we can take things forward and what we would advise them from our side of the table, which is a great initiative. So they spoke to us as wedding planners. They spoke to other tourism companies which had inbound clients which stopped coming. They spoke to airlines and they spoke to various different hotels to put together a strategy and put together a plan of what they could offer from their end. So from our end, obviously we were doing research from our side. We were speaking to our clients and doing that. And on the same note, we were speaking to our tourism board and other tourism boards as to how things would change and what would be required by destination wedding planning companies like ourselves and other companies to take things forward. Now, in terms of our clients, obviously there were certain requirements for destination weddings, which were things like the cost aspect. There was the travel time aspect, the ease of visas, the ease of what the tourism board and how much the government helped out when it came to weddings coming in. And now all of a sudden the hierarchy of needs have changed and safety has become the foremost important thing when it comes to weddings. And that is some of the main things that they're asking us, even when we're doing site visits. Now that Dubai has opened up and we've gone back to doing site visits of hotels. And one of the first things they ask us is this hotel safe? Are they taking the precautions? How are their sanitization process going on? How's the hygiene level? What extra precautions are they taking compared to normal? Like Dubai as a city in general is very clean, and in terms of sanitization and in terms of hygiene levels, we're quite high up there. But now the need of the hour is for hotels to be as clean as possible, for tourism boards to take that extra precaution to welcome people to come in. The flights have not opened up just yet, so we're doing a lot of virtual tours of hotels, and we're doing a lot of site visits of guests from within the country. But sanitization and healthcare and hygiene is one of the most important things that people are asking us.
Yeah. So just to reiterate, it's actually, I see it as an opportunity for planners to really become the ambassador for their destination or even other destinations, because it's really you who the client is relying on, and they will continue to rely on you for this particular information as well. And it's that much more important that you stay closely associated with the stakeholders. So I just wanted to sum it up in that sense.
Absolutely. Even with the hoteliers, last week we had a webinar like this just with the hoteliers, and the first thing that was brought up is hotels have to get in touch with all their stakeholders, because going forward, each wedding planner, destination wedding planner, or local wedding planner is going to be the flag bearer of not only the city but also the hotels in the city. It's very important that information is passed down to them and clear indication is given to them, so they can then go out and speak to their clients, and we can tell everybody what the situation is, and we can speak about it with confidence. Because right now the issue stands where the level of confidence is lost, and that is what we have to build up now.
Yeah, amongst trustworthy associates. So that's great. Beverly, we've always, as an industry, both for MICE, for weddings, any events, we've always gone through B2B channels and spoken to agents and hoped that they bring us the business that we desire. How does Singapore Tourism Board intend to really use now these networks that they've harnessed and nurtured over the years to the advantage of this message going out? Any insights on the plans to work with planners, agencies, travel agencies even?
I think working with the trade has always been key for us. It's been through all our work plans. It's been through all our strategy. The travel trade really is one of our key partners that helps us to shape any travel demands, whether in the past and especially now, post-COVID times. And then with all this in mind, all our initiatives actually are geared towards not only assuring the tourist or whoever is coming in, but very much so focusing on the businesses and helping them to sustain, helping them to upgrade themselves, helping them to all sorts of capabilities development right now. So things like we've actually rolled out frameworks to help them in terms of staff training. We've worked with big players to actually help them. By big players, I'm talking like Google, I'm talking like LinkedIn, to help the industry train, right? So it's always been something that we do and we will continue to do. It is very, very critical for us to really maintain this kind of relationship for sure.
Yeah, I agree completely. I'm going to take on a question that's coming through the chat board, because I think, again, it's an interesting one to take up. But I think everyone's curious to know how social distancing measures will really translate into an event. Are there any plans in place or some sort of a vision here where we've already, in an event, are there any structures that we're looking to consider keeping in mind social distancing? Christophe, is there something that you all have already thought of?
I am not an expert when it comes to event management, but I have to say that the size of the events are going to have to be a different size than what we used to have before. Whereas a wedding dinner or a wedding reception, which in Malta we had large weddings of 500, 600, 1,000 people. Today, no one can say what are the guidelines in order to have a large wedding event. So we're going to start with small weddings. We're going to start with small weddings of 10, 15, 20 people.
Yeah.
And I think there will be a lot of it will be let the experts, the wedding planners, the caterer, the venue, to work hand in hand together and come up with proper guidelines. The distance will have to be there from the ceremony to the wedding dinner or the receptions. It's more of the entertainment. The entertainment is a big question mark. How, from a celebration of people dancing and how it's going to be, we don't know yet. So we'll have to adapt as we go along. That's for sure.
Yeah, Rahul, how do you see this happening just from a wedding planner's perspective? Is that to one that plans Indian weddings, where we know that we don't like social distancing and we're always so pro partying and essentially enjoying each other's company?
Yeah, well, as Christophe mentioned, at this point in time, we don't have any clear guidelines or indications from even the hospitality groups or the limitations that will be put down by each of the governments. I think, again, brings me back to the point I made earlier. Every government or every region is seeing a difference in numbers, seeing a difference in how things are progressing in their lands, in their region. With that, there may be different stipulations. To highlight one of the stipulations that I know now is that Hong Kong is allowing weddings with 50 people as participants in it at this point in time. So that is a number that they believed or saw that could be a safe number for them. If they start at 50, it may start easing out even further. Some other parts of the world may think that a 10 or 15 people number gathering may be a safe number to start with. So those will change from region to region. Now, in terms of Indian weddings, obviously we've known of Indian weddings to be large numbers. Now, there can be a few possibilities. If the numbers are to be reduced, they can be possibly in a format of, let's say, a certain percentage of total capacity in a venue. So there could be a stipulation that says if you have a space that can have 1,000 people capacity, but you can fill it up only by 30%, which means you can then have 300 people. That is going to be one stipulation. But again, the 300 people cannot be gathered in one part of the hall because it defeats the purpose. Then there will have to be social distancing. Now, I also know that the weddings that are now being looked into in Hong Kong, for example, and those, I say Hong Kong because I know of a wedding that's happening there in the next 10, 15 days, where each table, instead of where you used to have 10 people sitting, will now have 6 people sitting on the table. So the distance between the chairs has been widened for it to become compliant. Then the food is not going to be in the form of a buffet. It's going to be brought to the table where there are iPads kept in front of every guest, and there's a course menu to choose from. So they click, 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 and it picks up what seat number or table number it is, and it comes in straight from the kitchen. So the only interaction is when it gets delivered to the table and then they go back. Of course, we will have to see and wait. We'll have to wait and see how the bar situation can be managed, how the dance situation can be managed. I also know that there was talks about making different zones like you would see in clubs and bars, where you've got an elevated lounge zone where there's a smaller group, then you've got another elevated lounge zone. So you've got a gathering of about 10 or 12 people in every zone where they will celebrate and dance among their own selves. There was another family talking to us who was looking at probably doing 3 events, but having a guest list of 100 guests each for each of the events. So all the guests will not be attending all the events. Some will be coming in for their Mehndi Henna celebration. Some will come in for the Sangeet. Some will hold back for the reception. And you only the selected family few who anyways were a limited number attending the actual wedding ceremony will be brought in. So there are a lot of ways to play around this. We'll have to come and see from perspective of what the hospitality groups lay down or the governments lay down for our clients to then make decisions in those directions.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. We've gotten so innovative now with the restrictions. Actually, it's hard not to see some amount of opportunities in all of this. Dr. Follad, how do you see it opening up in Bahrain? Do you see these as I found them interesting insights where to see how we can actually put in some amount of the social distancing norms and the the hygiene standards within venues as well. Is this also in lines with what you all are planning?
Yes, but it's even though there is no curfew, there is no timing where people stay at home. Things are as normal, even though at the like the mothers, they can stay at home to be away from work. So this is when restaurants are closed, the hotels they can take only from by order. So things like that, but. Distances, I think Rahul mentioned very, very good points. This is, Karishma, this is something new, Every day we are discovering something, and that's why we exchange a view, even by, if you see it on the country's level, is like in the beginning, nobody was talking about the mask, but with the time, they come up, WHO, the US, some country, they said this will play a very vital role, okay? And later on, the countries has requested all these, so that's why the prices of the, the masks and everything, and everybody starts running, jumping on. So every day we discover something new. Arun mentioned about the cost, now, there is also travel cost. This is something new, Just recently they were talking about, I'm talking about the economy, the tickets of the travel is, it will be increased by 54 to 60%, So all these are something new. Now, as far as the countries, I think we will offer our service. We will have our teams, the easy travel, the visas, we are the eyes of the families, the wedding plan, that will remain, The best service, that will remain. But now the issue of safety, for instance, is coming, not just for the tourists and their visitors and the families, even for the locals and the, and the residents, the issue of the distance. So every day we are discovering something new. And the government or what's going on in Hong Kong might be applied for Bahrain. So, something new.
Yeah.
You don't have answer for so many questions. The last humanity, they know about the Spanish flu that was in 1920, and after that, nobody was talking about viruses and things like that. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I also see I know I'm reiterating the point, but I see a very good opportunity to really work closely with planners, because in this conversation alone, we've learned of a few things. Where we're getting to learn from what Hong Kong did. Rahul probably implemented something that he came up with as an idea, given the restrictions, and then tourism boards can really work together with planners to see how they can. I guess it's also going to be a situation of who can implement what fast enough and put the message out there that's going to be leading into winning some amount of the initial business and building confidence. So back to my age-old message of collaborative efforts and partnering with the stakeholders, especially the planning network, because they really have their eyes and ears on the ground. Arun, on that note, if you can, we spoke in the previous session about it's an idea. I'm putting it out there just from the interest of coming up with new ideas. But in the previous session with the tourism board, we spoke a little bit about chartered flights and how for certain Indian weddings, maybe that's an opportunity when, of course, certain parameters of destinations are showing safety and hygiene standards as per what is required. Do you see that as an actual trend? We visited it a little bit in the last session, but we've not taken it. We didn't really think about it beyond that.
I mean, see, like you said rightly, and most of us, I think, brought this up that this pandemic has been bad for a lot of people, but it's also been an opportunity for a lot of industries. It's very difficult to, at this point, talk about what industries will do well, or what type of hotels will do well, or what islands will do well, what parts of the world. I mean, we know that we're blessed here in the Middle East because during summer, not a lot is going on in terms of events and weddings, outdoor weddings anyways. So we're blessed because we'll be ready for when the time comes in October, November. Now, in terms of, I'll give you another example. There was a lot of talks happening about how islands will be doing really well, be it Mauritius, be it Maldives, be it Seychelles, because they are very secluded and people can take charter flights and go there, and or even take airlines and go there, and because it'll be very close knit and it'll be only them, the hotels will be able to manage things better. That was one of the talks that was going on. But then again, when it comes to airlines and charters, possibly, we don't know yet because the airlines have not declared what the new rates will be, or what the new processes will be, what social distancing will cost us as wedding planners, or what will cost our clients in terms of how much they'd be paying, because in many of our weddings, the clients also sometimes pay for flights. How much of that cost will impact the end user? We don't know. But if you would think in terms of logic, absolutely, I think private jets might be the future if they can capitalize on the current scenario and offer better rates or offer same rates. And if the prices go up of airlines and they can match the pricing, people would rather prefer to take a private jet and put all their family members together. For example, if we were to do a wedding in Malta and people were coming from Delhi, from India, for example, and everybody would congregate in Delhi, and we would have one 200 seat flight come from Delhi, maybe one come from the UK. So it's a possibility that they might be a big future for private jets going forward.
Yeah, also because we have more or less islands on our panel as well. So I did think that was an interesting thing that came up the last time on the topic of flights, because I know that there's a lot of curiosity, and I know this might be an estimation, but Christophe, when do you see Malta as a destination opening up some amount of air travel beyond repatriation flights, of course? Is that something that we have an indication on?
We don't have an indication yet. We're looking at probably July, August. Having said that, we don't have yet anything for sure. The airlines will play a big part in the recovery of the tourism, especially more for an island, because we need it's either you come by a plane or by a boat. So that's the options we have. But going back to the topic before, private jets will definitely be on the increase. The luxury travel market will definitely be one of the main market to recover at a faster pace than if you look at corporate or the MICE business in general. Luxury travel will likely to be the market to recover faster because people have the means to travel, obviously, and then they will have the way to travel in a more personalized way and personalize their program once they arrive at a destination. And that's what's going to make the difference between destinations that can offer the upgrade and the standards that you would normally not have, having to mix with people or having to have a private visit and a museum. And all the destinations that are going to work that way for quality will benefit from it. I can foresee this for sure.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Dr. Follad, is there any more insights here on indications on flights? Is it already? I'm not sure of what the restrictions are in Bahrain so far, and how do you see it becoming more regularized?
Well, the flights, maybe just to, like, for instance, to bring back the citizens who, you know, who are around the world.
Yeah.
And also to bring, like, for instance, like Saudis, Kuwaitis, from, you know, they are willing to spend, like, but all of them, when they are coming, they go to the, you know, to the quarantine for 14 days. So that's only again the question, when it's gonna be with the flight, you never know. I agree with the speaker, like from Malta, that yes, the situation will be, I think, the luxury business. And as far as Bahrain, I think you know, we have the causeway, which represents 70 to 80% of flow of tourists. It's closed now, except the business, the tracks, you know, who are using. But when it's going to be open, we don't know. But I mean, for the families and so on, for the tourists or visitors. But I think that will help a lot. I believe the wedding, maybe it will be the first business for us, and the corporate, the corporate, but maybe it will be in a small scale. I think that will be at the big.
Yeah, thank you. Beverly, on the topic of flights, is there a possibility, because you always hear of, even when the flights are going to open, there is an assumption or an expectation that the flight costs might not be affordable. Is there a possibility, because I know that you work closely with Singapore Airlines, where you actually work together to say that, you know, we may have to cap the cost of flights as an incentive to really bring in or revive the business when it should happen?
I would position it as another way around, where we actually work with the airlines to sustain their business, right? Even at this time, even before we start opening up. And when it comes to sustainability, that's one. However, you know, it's like a chicken and egg kind of thing as well, right? I mean, if I'm going to be charging exorbitantly, then the number of tourists is going to be affected as well. So I think therein lies a very, very fine kind of balance that
Yes.
all tourism boards, all the governments will actually be working with every airline just to make sure that, you know, they sustain, we maintain the standards of whatever is necessary to ensure the control, while at the same time, their business is continuing from there. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be so straightforward, like, okay, you cannot charge X amount of money. I don't think it's as straightforward as that, but very much so, yeah, sustaining both sides.
Yeah, no, I agree. It has to be hand in hand as usual. The collaboration there as well is going to show its effects. Arun, you know, if just as an, I want to say as a roundup, in terms of what tourism boards you feel can do to assist wedding planners at these times. Is there anything that you can think of where tourism boards can really help you and your kind? Because I know that's our majority of audience watching today. Because there's so many questions. I see that, I mean, I'm a little distracted with the chat, and not all of them can be addressed by the panel now, but I know that there are these questions. You need them responded to almost immediately so that you can take back that information. I know I'm leading you on somewhere, but what do you think good advice for tourism boards at this time?
All of this is being discussed between Rahul and I. I mean, maybe Rahul wants to shed some light on this. He's been in talks with a lot of tourism boards to advise them as to what is required from our end as a planner, and also because we had the Middle East Wedding Association about. We're talking on behalf of everyone because a lot of the wedding planners and stakeholders are looking towards us for answers. Rahul, you maybe want to take this question.
Yeah, sure. I mean, what is important is communication. As we said, it's important for us to understand what each tourism board or region has set for in terms of guidelines for their region. What it may be different from one place to the other, so we cannot sell different destinations or different spaces on the same parameter or with the same dialogue to the clients. So it's very important to understand where each one of these regions stands with its ease of travel, with its ease of restrictions. I saw a question on one of the chat pods where it was about would countries allow people from a certain region to come into their countries to host celebrations. I see that airlines have now begun doing the rapid testing at the airports itself. Emirates Airlines was the lead on that, where they were able to test within 10 minutes for anyone who was getting onto the flight. And I think more checks like these at the port of disembarkation and embarkation both is something that should come into play, or which will come into play, to ensure that the people who are getting into a different region or a different country, even if it's for tourism or business purposes, are free from any infectious diseases. So checks like those, or probably get a health certificate or a medical certificate that validates that this person is safe to travel. Things like these have been there in the past for all known diseases in the past or all known medical conditions in the past. I think this is another thing that would need to be added in the doctor's list before travels, because when we used to travel to Africa, we used to get a yellow fever card and all those things that we need to. So till a vaccination comes into place, of course, that's going to be the end-all solution. But till a vaccination comes into play, I think testing and a medical certificate of clearance to travel or get into a different country, and then further check at the country when it comes to arrival. It may require people to get to the airports a few hours before their flights before they would usually get to the airport. But that is something that will have to be taken into account in terms of their travel time, just to ensure that everything is smooth on both ends.
So that is on the travel side of things. But when it comes to important stakeholders, there's a lot that tourism boards could do, ranging from financial stimulus to primary stakeholders, whether it's wedding planners, hospitality groups, tourism boards, airlines. Because like earlier, Beverly pointed out, it's a very catch-22 situation. If the airline wants to survive and increase rates, not a lot of people can even afford to travel right now, so they would not, unless there's essential business travel. A lot of the travel, especially the budget travel industry, will also take a big hit when it comes to that. Other than that, I would definitely recommend tourism boards to look into strategies wherein they can help the wedding planners and hoteliers with marketing support. Because this is at this time, because the spend is low for people, a lot of the hoteliers, a lot of wedding planners, a lot of tourism companies are not looking at marketing support, not getting the right kind of funds to spend on marketing. So if that's something that tourism boards can help out with, that would help a lot. The third thing I would recommend is helping them reduce their operational costs. So if they have trade licenses, if they have operating costs like visas, if they can help with that, that also plays a massive role. The other thing is to set up, as soon as things finish, all these things go back to normal. A lot of the planners, a lot of the big companies would like to come into your country to start set up fresh because they think of a good opportunity. And Bahrain and Singapore and Malta are one of those countries where people always see opportunity to grow bigger, to do better. So obviously, reducing cost on entry into the market is going to be one of the most prime things that would be looking at towards tourism boards to implement. One of the other things I can think of is tax, especially within Europe. In UAE, we are blessed. We have a 5% VAT, which is not major in terms of money taken away. But within Europe, in some places, up to 50% tax is taken off. So a tax break would be a fantastic initiative from the tourism boards to help their key stakeholders, depending on how much money the countries and how much money the companies have lost in revenue. They could offer some kind of tax break to the stakeholders. And finally, something that countries have been doing already is fam trips, organized fam trips to get people to come on and revisit the islands or revisit the countries to see what is being offered. So building that confidence among tour companies and wedding planners to see this is what we were before and now things are different. Come have a look. Come look at our hygiene standard. Come look at our safety standards. Come look at how our airports are and how well we're managing to help us as wedding planners gain that confidence so we can eventually pass this information off to our clients and get more people to come on.
Yeah, super. That's great advice. Just as closing notes, Beverly, you don't have to comment specifically on something that Arun said, but do you see these generally as a way of really bringing back that confidence? Do you agree that you will be taking certain such measures?
Actually, I'm quite happy to hear what he said because this is exactly what we're actually doing already. So when he mentioned about helping in terms of marketing and stuff, we actually have a huge fund that is helping our industry connect with their clients at this time, beyond just deepening their manpower capabilities. We're helping a lot of these companies redesign themselves just to be ready for all of this. In terms of all this, one of the programs specifically, which was quite interesting, is that we are trying to get our tourism stakeholders to work together to create experience that add greater value to tourists or to visitors in that sense. I think beyond the basic hygiene factor that is obviously going to be the new norm now, what will really differentiate the destination is about what's so special. Okay, all the basics are reached, right? So what then am I going to spend my money on? Am I going to risk, in that sense, traveling to? Is it worth my time? Is it worth my, efforts to move out and go to these places? So our funds actually are specifically catered for all of this and more from what Arun is actually sharing. So it's quite heartening that at least we are moving in the right direction, I hope. And I think it's very good time for us to really work together now to create the new norms. I think it's very exciting times actually for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, no, if we see it as an opportunity, then of course, there's so many ideas that just came up from us chatting.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Actually, if there are initiatives like these that the tourism boards are doing, I know that as Arun and Rahul mentioned, they also head what we call the Middle East Wedding Alliance, which is essentially a group of wedding planners that need to know this. So we hope to take the message out there to them as well. Christophe, your concluding notes in terms of if you find these strategies, these insights useful, and how you kind of work on them going forward.
Yes, we postponed just a fantastic fan trip dedicated for wedding planners, and we were going to have a really nice program over 20 international wedding planners coming over in Malta in April. Now we had to postpone it, and we're postponing it for October, likely to happen, but who knows? We don't know yet. But yes, fan trip, I believe it's a very, very powerful tool for people to come to get to know a destination or to recheck as well. But and I think these will be very, very useful when the market opens again. And our funds are going to be even more than 2021. We'll have dedicated funds to promote international weddings and destination weddings. So I'm confident in that, in supporting the local wedding planners, but also companies like Vivaah Weddings to promote the destination. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's encouraging. Dr. Follad, your parting notes. I know you already do a lot of this, and but yeah, it'll be nice to hear of your continuation and support.
Of course, the partnership, it's always exists between us, the hotels, the wedding planners, travels, everybody. I mean, it's always remain. And there is also one more point, which is word of mouth. That's the best ambassadors. I think it's #1 ambassador. That make Bahrain in a very short period of time to be a really well-known destination for the, let's say, for Indian wedding.
Yeah.
All the families who came and they saw the level of service, the support, either the families and their wedding planners, they all become like, ambassadors for us. If you go now and visit BahrainIslandWedding.com, which is our website, you will see many videos, many images of the last weddings, and this doesn't cost us anything. This is all just like a gift from the families and their wedding planners to us, just for the kind of service they have received from Bahrain Tourism Board, which represent the Kingdom of Bahrain. So as I said, that's what and the kind of friendship, and that's the new, which I believe that remains forever, between the destination of the people there in destination and those families. So yes, that's why when I say for us, the safety and the health of the families, the tourists, is always foremost in us and our decision, because we care about it. That's very important. Then the business comes in.
I know that to be true, actually. I'm happy to have witnessed a lot of this journey for Bahrain, because I see that it's this personal connection that's really won its fondness amongst Indian weddings and wedding planners. I'll take that opportunity to thank my panelists. Thank you once again to each one of you for sparing your time, for sharing so openly, for making this discussion so insightful. Thank you very, very much to our attendees and audiences. I know that the engagement was not through questions, but everyone really appreciated all the ideas that we shared today. And last but not least, thank you so much again to Vivaah. Arun, Rahul, you guys rock, and we really appreciate platforms like these, and we hope to be part of some more in the future. Thank you.
And thanks to the moderator also.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being a part of this. We really value your time and the honest conversation we had, and we hope that you will tune into the weeks forward to view the other sessions we have in order to keep everybody informed of the situation and try and take a positive feedback from this. Like we've been saying, one world, one community. Hopefully, if everything goes back to normal, we will all come back better, stronger, and more informed. Thank you very much.
Can you take a selfie?
Of course, I can take a selfie. We can.
For all of us.
Absolutely.
I've actually already taken a picture, Dr. Follad. I will send it to you.
Oh, fantastic.
I'll send you the screenshot. Yes.
I've taken a screenshot.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Be
you.
safe. Be safe. Very important.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.